Hola, Wine Chisme familia. We've got some exciting news to share. The Wine Chisme now has a voicemail line. That's right, you can literally call us, leave your thoughts, questions, or even suggest topics you want us to dive into on future episodes. Whether you want to share how an episode resonated with you, or ask about previous wines we've featured, or even tell us about your own chisme, we want to hear your voice. Porque este podcast has always been about connection, and now we can make that connection even more real. So grab your phone and call us at 858-304-0266. Leave us a message, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and whatever's on your heart. Who knows? Your voice might be featured on an upcoming episode. Because at the end of the day, Wine and Chisme is about all of us coming together, sharing our stories, and celebrating our community. Now, be a part of the podcast in a whole new way. Again, that number is 858-304-0266. We want to hear from you. Hola, hola, mi gente. Welcome to another episode of the Wine and Chisme Podcast. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see my big-headed boy right here, Keto, and Daisy, my cavapoo. That was her. She said, I said her name. She said, yeah, that's me. But today, I am so happy and excited to welcome Rose Gutierrez. Hola, Rose. How are you today?
Hola, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so grateful to be here and join and chat with you with the wine. And when I saw wine and then wine, I don't have wine, but I have my wine glass with water.
There you go. Hey, that's good. That's good.
Y ya tú sabes que un chisme, I'm always open. Because the Latinas, we're always open for that, right? So,
I mean, yeah. And you know what's so funny is every time they're like, well, what do you talk about? And I'm like, well, because of the name, we can chismear about anything. Like, hello, it doesn't, I always say it's not your tia's chisme, right? We're not talking about, the neighbor down the street or this or that. But
right.
you get to
Although, look, we can. No.
yeah, we can. Girl, there's been one episode that was definitely about some like it was when our neighbor started her apartment on fire with the intention of blowing our 7 unit complex up. Yeah.
Hey, hey, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah,
that was definite, but I mean, it was directly affecting me, right? Because, girl,
yeah.
it was a mess. But
I
that
can
was like
only
the
imagine. And
only,
that's scary.
it is. And okay, so let me tell you, let me give you a little bit more cheese me on that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm always
So,
open for chisme, girl. Come on.
so after that, um, we've become really close. There's one neighbor who was not here during that time, and he was never he leaves a lot and everything, which is totally fine, but it didn't affect him the way it affected us, right? Because he never really interacted with her, he never really had to see her. And so he put his own lockbox on the outside of our apartment complex and was starting to give it out for like delivery drivers and everything. But the
Oh,
thing is oftentimes they would just leave the code open, or like we saw the lockbox open. And first of all, we didn't know it was his. We thought it was the apartment complexes.
right,
And
right.
lately, more and more, he's been having people like deliver stuff. And we don't know. We're like, how did you get in? Because all of us, we look out for each other. Hey, I have a package being delivered. Can you be on the lookout for it? Yeah, no problem. Like I live closest to the gate, and I usually have the door open so I can hear. So I'll go out there and get lots of packages. I have no problem doing that.
Right.
But it became like, because of we have PTSD basically from everything that happened, because she was letting people in like crazy, like making keys and giving out, and like it was becoming real crazy. So today an Amazon guy came in, and I'm like, excuse me, how did you get in? And he's like, oh, I have the code. And I'm like, because we don't even have the code, the apartment, like what the apartment does, we don't even have it because they don't want us to have it.
That's so scary.
Yeah. So I went up there and I'm like, hey, so I'm like, we're not supposed to be giving out the code. Like, we're not even supposed to have it, let alone give it out. And he's like, oh, well, it's mine. I go, well, all of us, we feel very, and I'm trying to be very nice.
Right, of
Okay.
course.
I'm like, we all feel very uncomfortable with just these random people coming in because we've seen the lockbox like open,
Ah,
And what if somebody gets the key, or what if some, like, you just can't trust that. If it was a punch code, maybe it would be a little bit different, but you're relying on somebody to put the key back, close it, change the number on it. Like,
and
you
people are
can't.
in a hurry. They're in,
Yeah.
even though they're going to do something, they're in a hurry because they want to go to work. So then they're going to start putting codes in and locking it in. Are you kidding me? Here, let me open it, throw the thing, take the picture, and I'm out. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
because they want to move on to the
Exactly.
next thing, right? So
So,
we'll have somebody that's watching and goes, "Oh, I noticed that they go and they just leave the open." Okay,
yes,
then maybe
exactly.
target.
Yes. And we've already been through so much, and he doesn't have the PTSD that we all have, like, because he wasn't here that night. And I was saying, I'm like, I know you weren't here for that. I know you didn't have to, like, I'm like, but it makes us very nervous because we've all talked about it. And
Right.
he was like, I was here that night. And I'm like, no, you weren't. I was banging on the doors to get to
Coming
wake
to laugh,
everybody
but I
up.
know the type of person.
Yes. I'm
Right?
like,
Like, oh my
I was
God.
so telling my neighbor, because my neighbor comes out, she's like, we're not comfortable with that. And I go, and I'm talking to her later. I go, literally, I said, pun intended, it's burned into our brains what happened that
Right.
night,
Oh my,
right? We
yeah.
know he wasn't there. And the fact that he's trying to, like, say he was and claim, no, you. So, anyways, I ended up talking out to the manager, and I was like, look, we're not really comfortable with this, but what is the policy? And he's
Right.
like, let me talk to my manager and I'll get back with you. 5 minutes later, we asked him to take out the lockbox. If it's not out by tomorrow, let us know. And it was just such a huge relief. But I know he hates me now.
That's
And he's
okay.
like a guy he's like a guy who totally, like, takes steroids and everything. So I'm like, please don't roid rage out me.
Are
Like, now
you?
I have this uncomfortable, like, feeling. I'm like, please don't, like, have a roid rage out on me.
Right, right. Yeah, but you stood up for everybody that was feeling the same way, right? What are you supposed to do? Stay silent, and that's where you live. And the most important thing to me is like to have safety in your home where you live, to feel comfortable and feel safe. And I
Yes.
wouldn't have been feeling safe, so I would have done the same thing. I'm sure anybody would have done it,
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of can I say cojones to go to the guy with the steroids? But only a Latina can do that
Exactly.
because we
Because
got it's
I
right.
was like, you know what? Because I feel, again, I just feel like everybody's so, like, timid, and I'm like, you know what? No, this is
Right.
my home. That I want, like, if there's any place you should feel, well, first of all, we should feel safe just anywhere, but
But the
your
home, like I
home
said, it's
is your
like
safe space. It should be your safe space.
exactly,
And if you don't feel comfortable at home, there's a problem. So just had
So
to
that
say
was good. You stood up to him. That's right.
I
So
was like, should I do an am I the asshole for this? But now I know I'm not.
it's okay. Sometimes you have to be the asshole because nobody else is going to do it, right? So there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. All
I'm going
right.
I'm going to do something and I want to just like see because
Yes.
I don't want to look like I'm not wearing a top. I'm very anal. Like,
Ah,
look, I have this on. Is it so
I
hot?
saw no, I saw the
You can
straps. It's
see the top?
okay.
Okay, okay. I don't want my head's
No,
cut.
I do
This is
that
it.
too when I wear something that's, like, strapless. I'm like, I promise I'm not naked.
Yeah, I don't want people to think, oh, mira esa fresca. So,
It's okay. We might get more views that way. No.
I know. I know. All
Well,
right.
I know you have your water in your wine glass. Today I am having a Balanza Vineyard 2024 Porch Swing Rosé of Pinot Noir. It's out of the Willamette Valley in Oregon, which I was there in June for my nephew's graduation. So I went to go visit them, Latino owned.
Beautiful.
Um, so we got to sit down with them, hear their story and everything. And it's lovely. This is a really lovely rosé. Even my mom is not a wine person at all. Um, and she came with me. I forced her to come with me. I'm like, no, just come. Don't be at the house all day at my
Right, right.
and she came with me, and she was like, now this is high praise from my mom when it comes to wine.
Okay.
She took a drink and she goes, that's not bad.
You all were waiting like at the edge of your seats. What did she think? What did
Well,
she
the owners they were like, okay, because I was like, she doesn't like wine, she doesn't, and she tried it, and she's like, oh, that's not bad, and they're like, we'll take it, we'll take it.
Jose happens to be, I'm not a wine person either, but rosé is my favorite.
Yes. And rosé Pinot Noir. So Willamette Valley in Oregon, they're actually really known for their Pinot Noirs.
Okay.
They're really full bodied, but it's so hard. It's like really hard to explain. They're soft, but have really good body to them. Not full body, but they have really good body to them.
Okay.
Um, and that just area is very, very perfect. There's a lot of wines coming out, and there's actually several Latino owned wineries in that area too. Because you
Nice.
don't think
Well,
Latino
listen,
wineries,
I'm going over there then.
Oregon. Yeah.
And I'm gonna hit you up when I'm over there. I'm like, are you gonna come
Yes,
and meet
girl.
in person? Okay. All
And then
right.
I'm having this in my Altamed cup, Altamed Foundation. So Altamed, and the reason I'm saying this is because with everything that's going on, Altamed, they are a healthcare system in like San Bernardino and LA County that
Okay.
really make sure that they are catering to low income and especially communities of color, particularly the Latino community.
I love it.
Um, I spoke with somebody who I know from there and who's really high up. And I was just asking her, like, how is everything being affected with all of the cuts? And she's like, well, we have enough to sustain for at least another year, but we don't know after that.
Long time.
Yeah.
It's not a long time.
So if you are, I definitely encourage anybody in the area, if you are able to donate or anything like that,
Okay.
make sure to go to Altamed. So
Okay. Okay. Definitely. Definitely, because there's a lot going on.
yes. Well, salud, mujer.
Saludo and thank you. And so wonderful to meet you.
You as well.
Mm.
Mm. Oh, this is so good. This is
Okay.
so good. It's so just nice and refreshing and citrusy and
That's so
it's
cool that you do like a wine and chisme. I'm like, she's so cool and so relaxed and relajada. And I'm like, I love that. I love that.
oh,
You
thank you.
know,
Right before I hit record, Rose and I were talking and I was just like, thank you so much. We were basically just fangirling over each other in regards to what each other does. Because, like I said, beginning anytime we're talking, I mean, really any topic, but in particular, when we're talking about representation in media, in TV, in movies, in anything like that. And honestly, even in podcasting, because it's something I realized is when I'm going through TikTok and when I'm going through Instagram. Now, Instagram, it's more curated, I think.
yes, yes,
I see a lot of Latino podcasts,
yeah.
but on TikTok, and it's very frustrating because actually on either side, I hardly ever see really like representative podcasts come in my feed that are blowing up,
I don't
right?
see any either. I see
Yeah,
one like on my feed because I'm doing the film and television, and I start to follow like Latino and Latina, podcasters. And I'm on TikTok, because I go on both, I go on that and YouTube, to
right.
be sure that I'm, up to date with everything that's going on.
Yeah,
And it's so true. Like I don't see any on my feed. Like
yeah. Or
that.
any that are getting like, for example, for me, I've always said, like, I want to make sure that regardless of what you're doing, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're somebody who just wants to share about the job that they're doing, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. That's not everybody's goal, right? That's totally fine.
Right.
Like, but also like when I don't see a lot of um even super high profile Latinos on other Latino podcasts or rarely like because they're not the ones that, not to say that they don't want to do it, but if they're being represented by an agency and a manager and this or that, I feel like they're not steering them towards those
Right.
podcasts. They're steering
Exactly.
them towards the Alex Cooper, the Chicks in the Office, those types of, they're steering them away towards more white centered podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it becomes really, I'm not going to lie, it becomes really frustrating, not only for myself,
Hmm.
but for all of the other podcasts that I like, not just because mine's not limited to Latinos, right? It's
Right.
people across communities of color. But regardless, to not see these podcasts being amplified by or being accepted in for, like, you don't see big podcast, um maybe, I'm trying to think of the word that like big podcast networks or companies going after Latino podcasts,
Right.
or you just, and it
You're
that
saying you're
I
saying you're saying like the big like the big podcasters, like some that you mentioned, right?
mhm,
The big names, right?
right.
You don't see them inviting Latino guests, or is it the you don't see them going after Latino podcasters like,
I don't see like those networks, like
mhm.
podcasts, unless they are very specific
Oh,
to
I see what you're saying now.
POC, BIPOC, Latin. I don't see
Right. You don't see them
like
like
those
sorting out the Latino podcast. So there's no big representation in the big names and the big numbers where the big money is, right?
right.
Right.
Yes,
Which is a great
exactly. Thank you.
segue to talk about what I do.
Let's talk about
You know what I'm
everything
saying? Because
else.
it all, it all intertwines,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about you and I was thinking the very same thing. It's look, we're in an era now that we weren't like, are you a millennial or a Gen Xer?
Gen X. I'm a
Are
Gen
you?
X.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. Oh, the fact that you didn't know, it's
No, I
excited.
thought you was a millennial. You look good. You look amazing.
Thank you.
I'm a baby boomer.
I'll be
48?
48 November. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you my age, but
You don't have
but
to. It's
I'm not a
okay.
Gen X. I'm a baby boomer. So I'm older. Okay. So we're at a good time right now, you know, because all those things you just mentioned with I'm not going to call them the white casters, but the people with money, let's call them that, the rich and famous.
Those who take up the usual spaces.
Right. The powers that be, right?
Hmm.
People with the deep pockets, the billionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't go after that, and they have this vision of us, right?
Right.
And the vision of us, it's like we're put into like this box. And this is just my point of view, the way I see things. It doesn't mean that it is like this, you know. But I just feel that instead of sitting down and complaining about it, you do what we're doing. You
Yeah.
see,
Yes.
you became your own public relations person. I became my own public relation person, and I threw out my project. My project started 10 years ago, and then life threw these curveballs at me. I was married to someone for 32 years. The marriage fell apart, so I couldn't finish my project. And then now I just finished it. Like it took like a year, the last year and a half, I finished it. I have some amazing actors, Latinos, who started with me, and they started their career with me, and some of them are older, and then they just took off. They got series regulars, and they're making a living, especially like three of them. They're making a living as actors.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I say this because I was having a conversation with an actor this morning. She called me and we were just chatting about the business and blah, blah, blah. And, she says to me, that the traditional things are so important, like IMDb and your resume. And I don't think they are anymore, and I've been in the business almost 30 years. Okay. And I've gotten small parts. I had to raise my family. So I had to take like these baby steps. I didn't get my SAG card until I was in my 40s. I didn't get an agent until I was in my 50s. Do you know what I mean? So, and now I'm auditioning regularly, right? But there's so much competition out there. And here's the thing, I hear actors going, oh, I don't know, I gotta give up. And I'm like, no, no, that's the wrong attitude, especially now. Especially now. When we were growing up, when you were a teenager, right? And even
Hmm.
your 20s, because you're a Gen Xer, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have
No,
this opportunity for you to have this fabulous podcast for 5 years and meet all these wonderful people and bring these guests in and talk about all these beautiful, relevant projects, the good, the bad, the ugly. You didn't have this opportunity, but like, no, but you
yeah,
but you did it yourself. So, I say that to say that now we have this amazing thing called the internet. And by the way, I have to send you a copy of I wrote an ebook from screen from from scene to screen, meaning, actors, social media for actors, and how they can use it as an extra tool for their careers. In addition to film, television, and theater, we also have the internet, you know. Um,
Yeah.
there's right now, I don't know if you know that there's a new thing they're called vertical videos, and they have these apps out. It's all in my book. I did all this research, and they have these apps out, and they're making millions of dollars, because they're doing bite-sized content that's like
Right.
telenovelas, and some of them are very cheesy. Like they're like una porquería. But I watched one the other day, right? So I'm like, I gotta see this because I'm doing research and I'm in this business, and I was like so invested. It was
Yeah.
like this millionaire was looking for a wife, and
Oh, the real, like the short, like those short.
yes,
Yeah.
those
Oh my
real
gosh, I'm
short.
obsessed with those.
Thank you,
And they're
thank you,
so dumb. I'm
thank you.
obsessed with.
So I watch like they reel me in, right? And I'm all invested and I'm like this, like, oh man, this is good. And I'm like going to the next one. And then the last one I had to pay. And I'm like,
Yes. Okay, so let me tell you, like, and they're usually like, they could be anywhere, and they're usually about a minute long, right?
yes,
And they'll
yes,
tease you with giving you a little bit more, and
yes,
then it's like 60 parts. So really, it's like an hour, right? That you're
yes,
really
yes.
investing in the girl. I get me and my friend talked about that too, and it's always and everybody's always slapping each other for no reason. I mean, it's
And it's always the same kind of genre, the same kind of story. It's like the
yes,
old-fashioned novelas. Remember the novelas? It's like,
yes,
but like more
yes.
intense and more cheesy. And I'm like, wow, this is real, but
And they
it's
get it all done in a short period of time.
short amount of time. And I'm going to tell you something. When I first started my project, this is very funny. That was my intention.
Really?
And yes, and the team that I had was a bunch of young people. It's 10 years ago that had just finished film school. And when I told them what I wanted to do with the project, they thought I was crazy. They were like, Esta vieja está loca. I know that's what they were thinking. Okay. So I did. I broke them up into little bite-sized episodes and I put them on YouTube. But I didn't do the marketing for it because it wasn't, the internet wasn't the way it is now, Instagram,
I could
like the way it is
so
now.
much has
Right?
just evolved, right?
Exactly. So when I did it back then, and now I'm like, wow, I was really onto something. So now I've been writing just a lot of stories and a lot of content with that in mind, to take my project and, to take it to another level because it is a pilot. Um, and I'm shopping it around that way, and then I want other episodes. I'm applying to different grants for Latina filmmakers, and just for filmmakers in general.
Yes. You know
Um,
that like San Diego, they have a Latino film festival
okay.
in San Diego, and I know they have them in LA as well.
Well,
Like,
I did apply to a few. I don't know
yeah.
if I did that in San Diego. I have to look at the list because I went down the list and and I know that I looked at San Diego, but I don't know which one. But I did apply, to a few of them and we'll see what happens. Um, as far as the project is concerned, like we were talking, I just feel that this is a great time for us, instead of sitting back and complaining about, they don't pick us. Yeah, they don't. They don't, they portray us, as gang members and maids. And, I had to, at one point a few years back, I had a manager, and she passed. She was a wonderful friend, wonderful woman. And I had to tell her, don't submit me for any more maid roles, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I said I see I can do other things. I said I don't want to play a maid. If you want to talk, I have a maid. I have somebody who comes to clean my house. Like you know what I mean? Like and I didn't say that to try to be like, but for real, like we can be other things and we should be other things. So then
Yeah.
you step up and I auditioned for a lot of wonderful roles, and then I look and I say, well, let me see what they were looking for. And sometimes, and this is a great point to bring up, for people watching that are actors and in the film industry and that are diverse and of color. You know, I know that I am a good actor. I studied, I did Meisner, I took communications in school. I was a coach for 20 years. I was a teacher. I had my own acting school for kids for 8 years. You know, And I audition now for good roles because I have good representation now. I have like
Yeah.
legit representation. And I don't get the roles a lot of times. So, and I look and I say, well, let me see what they're looking for because it's my job to look to see what they were looking for. And sometimes
Right.
I'll go, oh, yeah, well, wow, I totally missed the mark there. So I see this actor got it. But I tell you the truth, a lot of times I go, I did exactly what this actress did. So why wasn't I cast? You know why wasn't I cast? Because I don't look like a Latina. See, I have green eyes and then I have light hair. So they don't know where to cast me. So when I first started acting, I used to go to these they're like these casting panels where you go and and then I would get picked, but then the agent will tell me, I just don't know where to put you because what what do I do with you? Like this is what I would
Mhm.
get all the time, because I don't look Latina enough. So then I meet people and they tell me, "Oh, but you look Italian." And are you Italian? Like, no, I don't have any Italian blood in my, you know what I mean?
But take that Italian roll,
I,
girl, right?
I take it and I told my reps, start submitting me for roles that don't say Latina because I obviously am not getting those roles. When I look at those roles, those women have, darker skin, like my daughter. My daughter has darker skin, black hair. She looks Latina when she sees you look Latina. Do you know what I mean? And it's just a stereotype that that they put on, you know what I mean?
Right.
That the
Yeah.
television puts on us because we come in all different shades and colors, right?
Exactly. No, I don't, I mean, maybe I don't, I think I wouldn't look at you and ever think that you were a Caucasian woman. I think
Mhm.
I don't know. I think I would think that you were light skinned Afro Latin, or yeah,
I
maybe
get
Afro
that too.
Latina or light
I
skinned
get that
Black
too.
woman.
Yes,
But
I
I
get that too.
wouldn't, I don't know. I mean, I think I have seen instances, and I've done it myself, right? And looked and said, I don't see anybody representing me. But just because they don't look like me doesn't mean that the representation isn't there. Like when you see somebody like Coleman Domingo, you look at him, people
Great
view him
actor,
as a black man, but
right?
he's Latino, right?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
I think certain things like Julissa Bermudez was on the podcast last season,
Nice,
and we were talking about that. Like people, when they initially see her, people see her as a black woman,
right.
but she's una dominicana, right? She's Dominican from New York. And so it's just always
And
so,
Zoe Saldana too, right?
and
Like,
Zoe Saldana, right? Yeah, like by the name. But what if somebody, like, what if, obviously colonization happened. I'm not, but in regards to like, what if the last name somewhere down the line, like somebody married a white man or a European or whatever, but then, and so you have that last name, but maybe your last, the last few generations it's been, or the last generation, you have an Afro Latina mom and an Afro Latina dad. And maybe the dad had a grandfather who had a European last name. So he has a European last name. And then you don't like, it's just all of these things, right? But we constantly are putting
which is my
judgment.
family, by the way. My
Yeah.
grandmother looks black. She's black.
I
And
mean, I posted something with my grandpa and some of my cousins, and literally, when we're all little and we're all surrounding my grandpa, literally every shade is in there.
yeah,
And these are all my blood first
yeah,
cousins, right?
exactly.
And every shade is in that photo of me and my cousins,
Yeah.
because we come in all shades, we come in all sizes, we come in various last names. And I hate that people, we do it to ourselves, we do it to each other as well, but even more so the things that we get from the outside, right?
Right.
In regards to what we should look like, or how
Yeah.
we should speak, or what we should sound like. I want to read this really quick because we didn't go into it, but I want to let people kind of give a sense of who you are, because you
Okay.
were born and raised in Brooklyn to
Yes.
a single mom, but you spent your first 7 years with your grandmother,
Yes.
who migrated from Puerto Rico in search of a better life.
Oh my
And
God, she wrote that for you. Oh my God. I want to cry.
yes, girl. And I love you put your that her strength and resilience shape the way you see your world.
Yeah, my
And
sister.
not only, you're obviously, like you said, you're a actress, writer, director, business owner, and you started this journey later in life, which we will absolutely get to because I feel the same, right?
Yeah.
And you, again, like you said, you had a tumultuous divorce, you were married for 32 years. And you're reclaiming space for underrepresented voices and showing that lived experience is a superpower, not a setback. And your project is This is Bushwick. It's dramatic with a bit of humor, but and we'll definitely get into that as well. But tell me about, like, you obviously the first 7 years of your life is very like crucial, impressionable. You learn kind of a lot, your values and everything. So tell me about your grandmother and how she impacted your life so early.
Oh my God, I'm like, I'm gonna get emotional. I forgot that I wrote all that stuff, and it's so great that when you asked all the questions and you did all, I was like, wow, she's on point. She got stuff together, and I love
Oh,
that.
thank you.
Yeah, the first 7 years of my life I did spend with my grandmother because my mother, was a single mom. She was very young when she had me, I think like 19 or 20, and I spent the first 7 years with my grandma. She didn't know English. She refused to learn the language. She was very stubborn, and she was a tough woman, you know. And now looking back, of course she's gone now, but looking back as an adult, I don't remember her like laughing or smiling too much, like not a lot, because I guess she was so worried, like she had to migrate from Puerto Rico here and start a new life and bring her three daughters. And, she started working and, she wanted to make money and she came for the American dream, right? And she had to put food on the table and she had 7 kids. And then I was with her. I was the only grandchild that was raised with her, like one of her kids, so my aunts and uncles were like my siblings, and I learned both languages at the same time because my mother would pick me up when she wasn't working because she also had a job and she was working 6 days a week, and then she was in her 20s and she was a beautiful woman. Beautiful. I mean, I lost her last year.
So sorry.
Beautiful. I mean, outstanding. Like she would walk through the door and she was, her dark skin and jet black hair and legs for day and a big salsa dancer. And my father was a timbalero, and that's how they met. They met, you know what I mean? So it was like a love story kind of thing, and so my mom would pick me up whenever she could, and she would speak to me in English only, predominantly English. But with my grandma, I had to speak in Spanish. So I learned both languages, and I learned a lot. And then my uncles taught me how to read. So I knew I started school late, you know, because I spent time with my grandma. I didn't go to like kindergarten and the traditional like pre-K and all that. I went straight to first grade. And I remember them like testing me to see if I was up to par, and I could, function in the first grade because I had never been in school. And, I
Right.
thought my mom was like, oh, well, you might have to go to kindergarten. She was like, but then they took me and they gave me a book and they asked me to read it and I read it and I told them what it was about. And they was like, okay, she's ready. But that was because my uncle taught me at home how to read. Do you know what I mean? So, and it was a lot of joy because I grew up like if I lived with my mom alone, it would have just been me and then my brother came when I was like 5 years old. He was a baby.
Mhm.
But growing up with my two uncles and my two aunts that were like my siblings, I know my grandma was having a hard time, putting food on the table and struggling with the language. And, just there was so much stuff happening and she didn't know the culture. Now she had to assimilate into this culture. And she was so stubborn and she didn't want to because she could have learned the language. Like thinking back, she spent so many years here and she used to watch the news and she would go to me, Mira, ¿tú sabes lo que dice allí? No gas today. I said, oh, mommy. 'Cause she didn't want nobody, the grandchildren, to call her grandma, who was mommy. So she knew, is what I'm saying. How are you going to read? Mira, tú sabes lo que dice allí? No gas
Yeah.
today. That's when
She
the
knew
gas
more
was,
than she let on.
yes. So, but she was stubborn.
Oh, she was listening to all the conversations.
And
All the
she,
conversations she was listening
and
to.
she used to watch her novelas, but she would watch, television in English. So I know, and we were all speaking English to each other in the household, you know, but she refused to do that. And she was a very strong woman, and she taught me how to be tough and have that resilience and don't give up and keep going. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And then, my memory, and I didn't know that, until I was an adult, like early, like I don't know what age did I first, I was like, wow, we were poor. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, but that doesn't dawn on you when you're a kid.
No, because especially if I think especially when you have big if you're in a big family or or a happy family, right?
Because we were all
It
happy. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter the amount. You're just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so fun." Like as a kid, you're just like, "Oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is so cool." Oh, you don't think about it. And then when you're older and you have life experience, you're like, or if you get exposed to that by other people, right? Then you're like, "Wait a
Hmm.
second. We
Right.
didn't have all that."
And my uncle, when there wasn't any food in the house, like we didn't know because he would make onion soup. He would throw an onion, a boil of water, but it was like a game.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he would make all these weird like dishes out of whatever was in the refrigerator. When it
Girl,
was all
that's what
game.
everybody did,
Yeah,
right?
and we were all waiting, and he would just like talk like as he's making it, and he goes, "Oh, now we're gonna put the onion in, and let's grab me the salt." Like, and he would just make it like a game, and we would play cards and Monopoly and Trouble. Like, so it was a happy household. But when I got older, I knew that my grandmother was struggling. I
Mhm.
knew that there was a sadness in her, and I wish I could have spoke to her more and spend more time with her and ask her how she's doing. And, I'm gonna start crying. And I didn't get to do that.
Aw. You know what? She is looking down on you and
I
she
know.
is so proud and she's like,
Yeah.
"Ay, mijita."
Yeah. And she's with my mom because my
Yeah.
mom passed last March. And immediately after, maybe a month after, I was dreaming, with both of them, that they were both walking together and there was like this light on them. So when I woke up, I was like, they're together. So I'm so happy, that they're together and that they're okay. And
Yeah.
okay, I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual.
Yeah. Wine break. Time to refill that glass and come back for more Wine and Chisme. Hola, Wine and Chisme familia. If you're loving this conversation, don't let it end here. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Wine and Chisme for behind the scenes moments, wine recommendations, and daily doses of chisme between episodes. And if you don't already know, we bring these conversations to YouTube as well. Subscribe to our channel so you can see the full experience, the laugh, the tears, the wine pours, and those moments when the chisme gets real. Plus, don't miss out on our bi-weekly Spill the Chisme newsletter. Get exclusive content, wine picks, and all the chisme delivered straight to your inbox. Head to thewineandchismepodcast.com to subscribe or just DM me the newspaper emoji on Instagram and I'll hook you up. Your support helps us amplify more voices and share more stories that matter. Now, let's get back to this conversation because it's about to get even better.
I wanted to get unplugged because I've been going through yo lloro mucho with what's going on right now. My heart is, and I have good friends, and I'm going to say this, this is not about this is not I'm not political, man, because I'm not. I am not. But what's going on right now? It's so outrage. It's like so cruel.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
And our people, we have a target on our back, and this is Germany all over again. And they want to bring back slavery. And it's with our people, ethnic cleansing. These people want to wipe us out.
Yeah.
And they're taking our men that are innocent and they're torturing them. And I'm crying. And I have to be honest, sometimes I don't even want to post because I feel bad that I'm sitting home in my house and I get to eat and I get to walk around and I get to take a trip and I get to post and I get to, and they're sitting in a camp, in a concentration camp. Look, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And if you're okay with that, then you're just a cruel person. Because how could you be okay with that? And it
No,
doesn't.
I totally agree. I'm honest. I completely agree. And that's why over like I've not been posting as much because I feel like what am I can't always post about that because
Right.
my brain will break, right?
No, I'm
Like I
saying
just
posting about my regular stuff.
no,
Like,
no, no, but that's so no, I'm saying
I
the
feel
same
bad
thing. Like
posting about that. Right. Go
I've
ahead. Go
posted
ahead.
some other stuff. Like I've posted some stuff about what's going on, but then I've tried to post other things that aren't that, but
Right.
it's been like long stretches. I feel like it's like longer stretches in between because it feels like I can't post about what's going on all the time because it'll just make me go
Right.
crazy. But
Right.
then same, there's like this guilt of posting the other thing, like the other things with everything else going on. So it's kind of like you're between this rock and a hard place, and you're like, but you still need to live, right?
Yes.
And so I will say this: the way that we continue to fight is to continue to do those things
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
just our existence is political right now.
Exactly. And
You don't even
our
have to like,
voices, and our
yeah,
voices. And like you said, you're posting not as much because you just don't want to post about that. And I get it because you can't, and what I do is on, like, you have me on my film and television page, and then I have my, my personal page where I always did skits and my acting and blah blah blah. And I put it in my stories. And I am doing it a lot because I feel like that's the only place I can do it, and the people that know me see it, and some people don't like it. Some of my friends just don't like it because they're on the other side of it, and I'm like,
right,
I don't care. This is in your face, and I can't be totally silenced like it's not happening. Like, I'm not gonna do that,
yeah,
because it hurts me too much, you know
yeah,
and but like you said, we still have to live, and we have to be present, and like I said, I'm spiritual, you know, and they just brought 250, the guys from Seacock. They send them home,
mm-hmm.
and they use them as a bargaining chip or whatever.
Yeah.
But at least they got them out of there. And
Yes, it's crazy.
that happened, I think, this past week. So I was like, hallelujah. I know
Yes.
this is not a political thing. I want to talk about my project, but
No, 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 it's
I'm
totally
sorry.
okay. Like
I wanted to speak about that. I wanted to
no,
speak
I
about
appreciate that. Like I always kind of just let people if they want to say those things, like I am very open and honest in regards to where I stand politically. I used to work in politics. I've worked for a lot of nonprofits. I tend to be very active in the community, like in our community, not just
it.
in San Diego, but across different areas. And so I never make anybody talk about it. I've had a lot of people say, like, I don't want to talk about that's totally fine. Like, I'm not here to like you say yes, you do, or no, you don't. Like, totally fine. I do want to um I do want to ask in regards to like just moving away from more into what you're doing and into your story.
Yeah.
You, I get what you're saying when you're starting your filmmaking journey later in life.
Yes.
And because I started the podcast when I was 42 or
Okay.
41, 40, yeah, 41. And so I get that. And it's one of those things where I'm like, man, I wish I would have been doing this for how long because it was where I finally felt like I'm doing what I should have been doing my entire life. When you were married,
Hmm.
was this obviously this is a fire that was burning in you for a long time, but did you ever like why was it, and I'm so appreciative that you're doing it now, but what were you focusing on at that time during your marriage that prevented you from doing this? Obviously you have kids, obviously, but then there's always other things, right? So what was your main focus while you were in that marriage that maybe prevented you from doing this at that time?
Yeah.
And how did you work through that to be able to be like, I'm free, I'm doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I did have this fire in me since I was little. I used to write plays in school, in elementary school, and the teachers would let me put up the plays in the auditorium. So shout out to those teachers. But then I found out, because I am a former teacher, that they have to do a play a year. So I was just doing their work.
They're like, yeah, go ahead. We're so
Sure.
happy for
I
you.
remember, wait, but I didn't have a typewriter. So I had this finger used to be like this because I was
Oh,
always
the
where you put the
indentation
pencil,
from
where you
red.
put the
Yes.
pencil.
Yes.
Girl, this thing, I mean, I still have the bump, but it used to get like swollen because I was always writing. Okay. And
Oh,
then one teacher, I remember she used to let me go up to class when it was like, you had a little prep time, snack time, whatever.
right.
She used to let me go up there and do improv. And I didn't know that it was improv because this was in the 70s. So I used to go up there and make jokes. So I always wanted to perform. And then I did some plays in like middle school where I got the lead. And then in high school, things got a little different. I was a rebellious teen. And they really didn't have an arts. Is he okay?
Sorry. No,
You're good, you're good.
she's scratching like crazy. So Daisy,
Poor baby.
I'm trying to find something soft to throw at her. Here.
Yeah, go ahead. Take care of the baby first.
Okay, she stopped.
I get it. So, the high school I went to didn't really have a performing arts program, you know. So I kind of rebelled as a teen, but I always got good grades. I don't know how, but I made it through. And then a college professor, like it took me a long time to get my degree. I had my daughter because I worked full time, because I got married very young at 21. So I worked full time and we both went to school part time. So this college professor said he was making a film. And back then there wasn't a lot of independent films. You didn't hear about that stuff. So he was like, "Oh, and I'm holding auditions and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, wow, I want to do this. So I went and I auditioned, and there was a bunch of people, and I got a part, a speaking part. So then I met other actors, and they started to tell me, about headshots and schools. And Hola is a Hispanic organization for Latino actors. I joined Hola and HB Studios and like all the acting. So then I started to get into acting, and then I started meeting people. And by that time, I was like in my 30s. But then I got a lot of negative feedback. Like I remember this one actor, he was white, he was kind of a friend. And I had the studio for the kids, and I would let him come and take headshots, and they would pay him or whatever. And he said to me, "Ah, well, really, you're past your prime. You're not going to make it. Nobody's going to hire you in your 30s." And that stood in my head. That stood in my
I know you see my
head.
face when you said that.
Mind you, that was like 30 years ago that he told me that. Y eso siempre me quedó en la cabeza, you know. Um, the shift, I did the acting school for the kids. I was a teacher. I worked performing arts in the public schools. It was always in me. The shift was that I finally gave myself permission, you know, because before I just felt like I wasn't ready. So I took the Meisner and, I'm not good enough. That you always have that thing in the back of your head. And then people telling you several people told me the same thing. Like he told me that, but his like stuck out. Then there was the agent that told me, well, your hair, what do I do with you? Like, where do I put you? Like, I remember her name and everything. I'm not going to say her name because I'm not here to shout out people, you know, and it's just like you got all this program garbage that you grew up with in your head anyway,
Mhm.
and then now it's with that. So then you're like, oh, I didn't make it. And look, in the Latino culture, I don't know how it was with you make it, the woman makes it when she gets married and has kids. So I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So that's what I did, knowing damn well that I should have gotten married. I did, and I have three amazing, wonderful children who are adults and my best friends, and I'm still their mom, and I still get it in line, and I just love them. And but I finally gave myself permission to say, you don't need anybody's permission, and that's when the shift happened. And it wasn't until like recently, because even while I was those 10 years I was going through the tumultuous divorce, the divorce was just long and exhausting. And they say,
10 years you're going through a divorce?
yes,
Holy
it's
crap.
still not final. How about
Oh
that?
my lordy.
Yeah,
Holy cheese and crackers.
maybe like 80, $90,000 later. Yeah, for nothing, because yeah, listen, I'm not blaming anybody, but I was willing to give up everything. He was like, no, Because the person they say the person you marry is not the person you divorce. I don't believe that. I believe the person you marry is the person you divorce. It was just you were too blind to see that that's who this person was. Yeah.
Right. Or you
I
grow in different directions. So yeah, they
Well,
are,
right, and I'm the
you
one who
know.
said when. I'm the one who said let's, we're apart, we're not good for each other, and he didn't take that too well, so he wanted to make me suffer, and he did
Ah,
a lot of things to me, even though the kids, I'm the one who's hold it down with the children, with the kids, even though they're adults, I'm still the mom. I'm still the person that they come to when they need something. I celebrate them, I cry with them, I'm here, and he's not a part of that, but that's his choice, not mine, you know
yeah.
he has another family. But anyway, you know, even when I was going through that tumultuous divorce, I still was trying to, like, we grow up with a lot of trauma inside of us, and sometimes we don't know why we say things that we say or act a certain way or react a certain way, you know. And that's why, um, I say that I'm very spiritual because I started to meditate and I started to journal. And, like, yeah, everybody's doing that, but I really, really found myself in that, and I found my higher power and I found my God. And I do have a relationship with God, although I don't, I grew up Catholic, but I am not, I don't believe in organized um, religion. And that's just me. And I don't put anybody else's religion down. I respect
Hmm.
everyone's religion, but this is the way I pray. And this is my thing, Um, so, going through all of that and then like fast forward to now and just recently, the past few years, that's why, when we started talking about, I tell actors and I tell people, and that's why I wrote the book, and I tell actors, and that's why I'm doing this project is I can't sit and wait for someone to hire me. And shame on me if I do. Because
Yeah.
I can make my listen, right now, actors, the industry is shifting. Let's talk about that. You know, you
Yeah.
have these big tech companies buying up the streaming services, right? They're not
Yeah.
artists. They're not artists. They want to get franchise out, like these superhero franchise, make 10 of them
Hmm.
until their ears bleed, until we can't watch it no more. And it's the same thing over and over because they just want to make a buck. They're not interested in really in the art, you know.
Yeah.
Um, they're more interested in making the buck, and that's the way the industry is shifting. And it's taking a big shift, and there was always competition, but now there's more because
Yeah.
the industry is shifting. There's less auditions, less job, less shows, because if the show's not making money, they're not going to put any. And then television is also, I did research, a dying art also. It's dying because, you have Gen X, baby boomers. Sorry about that. I don't know how to turn off my text on my computer.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't even hear it.
Okay, good. So, you have the Gen Alphas now. You know who the Gen Alphas,
Yes.
right, right?
Yes, my youngest nephew is Gen Alpha.
And he did not grow up without the internet, and he's has that internet, like he has that entrepreneur mindset and that savviness with and he could make money online, and do you know what I mean? So
Yes. Look, technology is great. The internet is great. We have access to people all across the we're able to do this because of all of those
exactly,
things, right?
exactly.
But at the same time, it's really turned a lot of kids into mini adults instead of maintaining kids, especially girls,
Yeah,
right? With the whole like, why are you 8 years old? You need to go to Ulta and getting skincare.
getting skincare 8 and 10 and 12. ¿Qué es eso? Like,
I
it's
mean, I did probably, but I was, you remember Noxema?
I do. Of course,
I
when
was
I
a
was 13, I
Noxema
had
girl.
Noxema, and I thought I was.
Yeah, so that was the skincare that we used, right? And my mom would make sure we had sunscreen. So that I definitely
But I just
like,
think, like you just said, we had Noxzema, right?
yes.
And, and I just think that everything evolves. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like their Noxzema is different than ours was, But I will say this, what's scary is, are they able to have social skills, person to person skills? Because they're
Yeah.
always like this, constantly. I tell my adult kids when they come have dinner, like on Sundays when it gets colder out, I make dinner on Sundays. I'm like, you guys got to put your phones away. I don't care. And they're adults and they get mad at me. And I'm like, no, put the phones away. Because we need to have a conversation. Like we need to be,
Yeah.
and that's what's scary with the Gen, Alpha kids. Like, are they missing out on those, person to person skills?
Yeah. I think that's why it's important for kids to be involved in stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like all of my nephews are involved in sports. And that helps you because it creates camaraderie. It
Yeah,
helps you develop leadership skills. It helps you
absolutely.
develop like spatial skills. It helps you develop communication skills.
Communication skills. Yeah.
But so many there, and there are so many millions of kids across this country that are involved in stuff to be able to do those things. Have you heard? So lately, there's been this whole like this summer. There's been this whole thing about the Gen Z stare. Have
The
you heard of that?
stare.
The stare. So, like, basically, what the Gen Z stare is say you walk into the store, I'm Gen Z, and you know how normally you walk in the store, they're like, oh, welcome to whatever today, blah, blah, blah. Let us know if we can help you. They don't say anything. And then, like, if you were to ask me a question, I just don't answer. I just stare at you. Yeah. So it's this whole thing. So it's, your presence does not require a conversation and you have this back and forth and people are like, no, it's not about that. It's about not being a customer. It's about being the person that works at the store and a customer is asking you a question. It is your job to answer the question. That is
I think
literally part
that's
of your
some of it
job.
because I have two Gen Z kids. I have a
Mm-hmm.
millennial and I have two Gen Zs. One is very outspoken, super smart. And then the other one, he's very smart, my son, but he's very quiet and he's very practical and a lot of common sense. The girls are super, like, very book smart. My son has a lot of common sense, but he's very quiet. And when you said that, I immediately thought about him. Do you think that some of it may come from what I was just talking about, them not being
Yes.
confident enough to have those interpersonal, like they stare because what do I say? Or they freeze. Do you know what I mean? But
Yes,
other people
absolutely.
would
That's
take
what
it
I
as,
think.
oh, why should I ask you? When I don't think it's sometimes, yes, I think.
Yes, no, these were the comments of people of
Right,
some
right, 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 right,
Gen
right. That's
Zers
what
that
I'm
are
saying.
saying, I don't need your, and now, and people were like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you as the employee, not as a customer.
Right.
If like it, that is part of your, and I do think that's definitely part of it is the lack of person to person interaction because even in school, kids are given computers now.
Yes. And they're giving the computers to take home to do the homework.
Yes.
Yeah, the last few years in the kids' school, they were given computer, like everything was done in the computer. Take it home and
Yeah. They don't know cursive anymore.
no, that went out like when my son was like in third grade, and he's gonna be 25.
Oh my gosh. So let me tell you a theory that I saw. I'm not saying this is true or not, but I thought it was really interesting,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And how they were saying one of the reasons, and I know this is not fully true, but I could see the correlation of how it could lead to this. They were saying kids don't learn cursive anymore. And what are all of the original documents from the United States written in? So they won't be able to read it. They don't know what it says. They
And
have
that's
no idea. So
wow.
as all of these
Never
things are
thought of
being
that.
taken away,
Mm-hmm.
these kids can't they because they never learned cursive, they don't know how to read cursive. The original documents won't be able to read. So they will always have to depend on something else to
Yeah.
make it legible for them. And that's
Yeah,
very dangerous,
it is.
right?
It
It's a
is.
very, very dangerous
Not
slippery
signing a
slope.
check.
Yeah.
Not a
Do they
practice.
even have signatures anymore? Does your
I mean, yeah, sometimes, but very rarely because now, my son gets paid like, they just
direct
deposit,
deposit it?
direct deposit once in a blue moon. He'll get a check and you have to sign it and take a picture. And I'm like, you know how to sign that check?
I'd be like, you want to be famous? You want to sign autographs? Learn how to sign your name.
You know,
Well,
but
especially with what you do, right? Especially with what you do, you're like, come
he knows
on.
how to sign his name, pero I don't think he could write you a letter. You know what I mean? Like he knows how to write a letter, but I don't think in cursive, you got him there. You know what I mean? He's
Yes,
not gonna be able to do
that's
that.
so funny.
Oh yeah. All
Okay,
right.
so let's
Let's
move
go
over.
back to oh my
Yeah,
God, I'm stay here talking to you for hours.
I'm
Hello. I love it. I
we're
love
just
it.
having a good time. That's why.
I
So tell
know.
me about This is Bushwick. Like tell me about this project. What inspired it? What
Okay.
is it about? I want to hear all of the chisme on that.
Okay. I'm gonna stay on topic. Okay. So we can finish this. Okay.
It's okay. That's what we do here. People
I
understand.
love it. I love it. Okay. So, like I said, I finally gave myself permission. And when I gave myself permission, things started to open up. You know, I got an agent. I never in my wildest dream thought I was going to get an agent ever. I didn't think anybody was going to represent me because they would meet me and go, you're not, well, Latina, I don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. Right. So in my 50s, I got an agent. Then I got a manager. And these are good, like, like they're well known, like agents and the managers that I got. Two agents and a manager. So I got that under my belt, and all these things I asked for, because I learned how to become a a a a a a manifester, I learned how to be a master manifester. That's what I call it, and I ask for things and I just put it out there and I let it go. And I'm like, give me this, give me, and I learned how to pray. So with the project, I started the project, I wanted to do the project and it was about, Bushwick. We owned houses in Bushwick, my mom, my grandma and my stepfather's side. And then I bought a home, and then the gentrification started to happen, slowly but
Yeah.
surely, And I said, wow, there's like little stories here. So in the story, there's like a lot was pulled from my actual life, from like I play the main character, and then I have two sisters. So the two sisters are a combination of me plus like one of my stepsisters and then one of my other half sister. So I just like combined, the I'm not always for words now because I'm trying to like talk fast. Um, their personalities, so their personalities are combined. That's how I made up, the three characters. One is very prissy, and then the other one is she's a half sister, you know that's only, she's a half sister. She's not my mom's daughter, she's just my dad's daughter from another marriage. That was me. I'm the only child from my mom and my dad, but I have siblings on both sides, four and four siblings, but I'm the only child. So on my dad's side, I always kind of felt like left out kind of thing. So I made her that character, and then I have the other character who's very prissy, and that's a little bit of me in there. And then my other sister who's very like, prissy and smart, So I combined that and then like other little issues, but then of course I embellished it, for watching because
Right.
nobody wants to watch straight boring stuff, So I wrote the pilot and then I chopped it up and I put it on and then I was supposed to finish it and then my whole I had to like this my whole life turned upside down. And then the character that plays my half sister, her name is Letty Castillo. We became good friends. She would always tell me when you're gonna fit, and she's also from Bushwick. Like she grew up in Bushwick too. So did I. And she auditioned for me. And when she came into audition, she was like, I had to come in to see this project because I was from, and we went to the same school. The only thing was she's 2 years older than me. So we were always like, but she went to the very same school, same middle
That's so
school
cool.
and the same high school. And she knew some of the same people in the neighborhood, and her family also has houses in the neighborhood. So it was like a very similar story. So, but anyway, her character, I wrote it in
So she could
because
really encompass what you were trying to do.
right, but her character, like I was auditioning only one person for the sister, so I picked
Mm.
Lisanne Valentine. But then I was telling the team that I had, I said I want to write her in. I have a character for her to play, and I really liked her, and she gave a great audition. She's a great actress, And then I was like, and she's from Bushwick, and she's a great actress, and she gets in, and she gets what I'm trying to do here, So I wrote her in, and we would like, she lives in LA now, And we stayed in touch and we would go to lunch and stuff. And she would always tell me, you need to do the project. Yeah. So one day I just did the project. I said, do you want to come back? And I had the original, like I did some editing and just like edit out things that I just didn't need right now. And I just put them on the shelf and then maybe I'll bring them back later. But all the main characters came back except two. They wanted to, but they couldn't because of scheduling or whatever, you know. But what I did was I took the episode from 10 years ago and I incorporated a new episode as a flashback. So that's
Oh, that's
Yes.
great. What?
And you're the first person I tell
Love
that. That's
that.
nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. So by the time this airs, people will see it and they'll go, "Oh, yeah." So it came out like so like phenomenal. I'm so happy. So I brought it back, and I tweaked it, and I have a full 30-minute pilot. You know, yes.
Hold on, I need to do this for that. I need to give you your claps for that as well. And your there we
Thank
go. We need to give you your oh, why did come on my side? I don't
Oh, but they're coming out like, like little
yeah.
congrats, congrats. Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. What inspired me was, like I said before, you don't see us on the screen being portrayed. They always said, oh, like John Leguizamo, he's a great advocate for Latinos. He's
Hmm.
out there like really pulling for us and batting for us, and he put out a whole article on the New York Times about how
Yes.
we spend so much money, at the box office and streaming and all that, but we're not being represented. We're not, you
Yeah.
know, you don't
I would
see,
love to have him on the podcast.
my God, I'm gonna
My
hold.
number one is also
Letty
America
worked with
Ferrera.
him, by the way. Letty, the girl that plays the Bushwick girl, she
Uh-huh.
worked with him on ER. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he remembered her because then they worked again. Oh, they worked again in When They See Us about the.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was the mom on that, by the way.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I'm telling you, the actors that I picked, the three, those
Girl,
their
yes.
their careers, I said, te di suerte, ¿verdad que sí? Because their careers just took off from there, and because they're phenomenal, they are so good. So she plays the mom of the Spanish kid. She plays the grandmother of the Spanish kid. You know, so she does great. She worked with Ava DuVernay. She said that
Ah,
I mean, she said, Rose, I worked with this woman and she takes care of her actors. She told the crew to leave. She spoke to her actors and she just took care of us. And I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
well, you can let her know if she ever wants to wine and cheese me. I'll drive up to
Oh,
LA.
honey, when I tell her, she's gonna be like, okay, yes, yes, yes. You're gonna want to have her on. So, where was I? John Leguizamo, he's a big advocate, for Latino representation. And then to me, it's not when you start the project, it's when you finish it. Like I'm here now, and this is the way it was supposed to happen. I couldn't finish it at that time. And even, in those 10 years, it was always like in the back of my mind, like, I'll finish it one day. I'll finish it one day. Oh, well, should I finish it? Shouldn't I? And then Letty kept telling me, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. And I just started writing and writing and writing, and then I just started doing edits. And then when I invited the cast back, I didn't think they were gonna want to come back because it's been 10 years. And that's how you know real actors, when you offer them something and they work with you and they know and they don't refuse it. Because some actors are like, I want to do that. You know what I mean?
But that's when you know that a project is good because all these years later, when you reach out to them,
Yeah.
they knew how special it was. And
Yes.
that's why they said yes.
Yes, yes. Lisanne was like, yes, like the one that she couldn't come back. She was a series regular on Manifest on Netflix because of scheduling. But she was in it because she's in the flashback. She was like, oh my God, some of the best times because she worked on Wall Street and she was a lawyer and she's left that to become an actress. Yeah, yeah. I got some good people, and
Yeah. No, I've known people that did that and then went into the art world,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
So she was like, yeah, those were the best times. We all became friends. It was like a family, you know what I mean? So I was glad to be able to bring it all back together. And I'm super excited because, back then I didn't have, the internet wasn't it was it what it is now. And I didn't know how to maneuver it either. Now I've become my own PR person. I'm doing, like, for the main actors, I did actor rollouts, and that's all marketing. And, I'm doing my own marketing right now. And just like you said, that you started your podcast in your early 40s, and you knew it was the right time because it just feels like so right, like the right
Yes.
fit. And even though, I'm sure you have struggles and sometimes it gets hectic, it never feels like, oh, what am I doing? It always feels like, right? It always just
Oh,
feels
yes.
like it's not work, and right now, like, I have this amazing assistant. She's just graduated from NYU. She has a famous dad. I'm not gonna call her out because
You could tell me when we stop
yeah, when I
recording.
finish, you'll be like, "What? How did you meet her?"
Now, wait, now I feel like you know how I felt like this a little time because there's been a couple of times where people are like, I can't say, and I'm like, well, tell me off, like offline.
Yeah, yeah, I'll tell you
And
off.
then and it's like the talk show hosts are like, I can't say, and they're like, okay, you tell me at the commercial break. And they
Yeah, only because I don't want to shout her out. You know what I mean? But I have this amazing assistant. She wants to learn, and she's also a writer and a filmmaker. And she doesn't have to work for me. Like, she has a famous dad who can open doors for her. And I have so much respect for the young lady because she wants to just, like, put her hands in the ring and, like, learn from me. You know what I mean? And help
Mhm.
me bring this to par. And she's like, yeah, I just want to learn. And one day she's going to have her own, film company. And I see so many great things for her. And she's learning and she's thirsty. And I told her today, because we had a meeting earlier, and I said, look, I know that sometimes you may think you're bothering me, but she keeps me on her toes because she's like, "Hey Rose, don't we have to do this? Hey Rose, don't we?" Porque yo soy como una loca, you know what I mean? So she gives me that structure. So I'm so grateful to her, And I met her at the right time, and like I said, I became a master manifester. Like, everything I manifest, like, I got in a room with other Latinas that are actors. There's something called Latinas Acting Up, and I was invited to that, and I met, like, all these women that have been on these great shows, Orange is the New Black, like, all these with great careers. And they were like, we were all sisters. You know what I mean? And they just wanted to lift each other up, and it was just a wonderful thing, you know. So I just feel that right now it's the right time for my project. I'm happy that I have an all Latino cast. Yes, I am going to incorporate, more diversity in it, but I wanted it just predominantly the first, episode to be focused on a Latino family of love and lies and locura and, and chisme and laughter and some humor in it and comedy. And, like, you have, like, these moments where, like, what? That kind of thing. It's like an old, like, telenovela, and there's sprinkles of Spanglish, which is really cool. That, some of us speak Spanish, so we go back and forth. Like, it's predominantly in English, but we'll go back and forth and say a few things in Spanish, and then I'll put the subtitles in. So I'm, like, so proud of the project.
Yes. No, I love that because that's how me and my family like or even like my sisters don't really speak much Spanish, but even there are certain words that they just always say in Spanish, right? Because that's just what we grew
Yes,
up with.
exactly.
So no, I love that. I also want to make sure that we before we you give us the information and when it's going to drop and everything and where people can find it, you also launched a new casting and creative agency.
Well, yeah, that's part of the whole thing because, oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. Thank you. So, okay. So what I'm doing with that is that has to do a lot with I'm going to I already started a vertical video channel. So I'm going to make I already have stuff written. It's funny because I got invited to apply for this grant, right? From
Uh-huh.
Netflix. So the second part that I have written, and I was going to cast and then put it up on YouTube on my vertical video channel. I'm like, okay, now I can't do that anymore because I'm gonna have to submit it for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's okay because it's due like the second week of August or something, and then they let you know in September. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I can go with plan A, you know what I mean, or plan B, and that's plan A because I would like to get that funding because it's I think it's like 35 grand or something,
Yeah.
you
So
know.
are these videos that you would submit to those companies for them to put on their channel, or would you have your own like vertical video company with your own app and
Well,
stuff?
right now is I'm doing my own vertical video company. That's what I'm doing now. And then eventually what I would like to do is migrate and have my own app, like the ones you were just talking
Yeah.
about, the little real, I think one of them is real.
Real shorts. Yeah, that's what I have. I'm ashamed to admit I have that on my
No,
phone.
I know. See, listen. Those people are making billions of dollars a year. Okay, because I looked into all of it, and it stems for that idea that I had 10 years ago to make short little bite-sized content, like
Mhm.
little, like a series of bite-sized content. That was my idea 10 years ago, but 10 years ago they weren't ready. They also had an app like 10 years ago to make that, and they didn't, I forget the name of it.
Like Vine is already like,
No, it wasn't Vine. It was actually for film.
oh, okay.
And but they didn't
I'm
make
not
it
gonna.
because the time, it wasn't just the right time for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And now everybody has zero attention span, so it's perfect.
3 seconds to reel us in. You got 3 seconds to reel us in. You know what I mean? So, actors, they have to, you know, look, a lot of actors are very traditional and they're like, I went to Juilliard and I did this and I'm not going to be on the internet. Then you're not going to, you're losing. If you don't have a big name, if you're not like a Rosario Darcy, like if you're not a big name or John
Yeah.
Leguizamo, and you're just like scrapping, then, you have to be open to everything and attached to nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? Because you don't know
Open to everything, attached to nothing. I
anything.
like
You know what
that.
I'm saying? So, that's not my quote. That was
I
from
know I feel like I've heard it before.
yeah, I forgot it. His name escapes me now. It's one of the manifest gurus. But, I just feel like I've gotten cast off my feed, off my you know, I've gotten cast, I someone cast me in their reading, and they were like network executives, famous people that I'm not going to name in the audience, and they were like, oh, somebody hit me up and they were like, oh, I see your videos and da, 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 da. Would you like to do this? I was like, let me check this guy out. You know what I mean? And I checked it and it was legit. Another influencer hit me up and he wanted to do a skit with me and he paid me, took me to somebody famous's house. I'm not going to say who it is. Very famous. Everyone knows him, and I got to meet him and I got paid. And that was all off my content. And then I got also invited to do reels twice for other actors, and I got content out of it. They invited me. They were like, "Oh, we see your reels, and you would be great for this part." So you never know who's watching your stuff. So don't close the door and be like, "Well, I'm an actor, and I'm not going to be doing." And here's the other thing, there's less work for us because now the industry is going overseas to film because it's cheaper, right?
Right.
You know, and they want to put AI in everything, like so the writers are like struggling and they're scared and and it's horrible. And they want to replace background actors with AI. That's what we had the union, the strike
Yeah.
in the union. I was out there picketing, and
Which I honestly, I mean, the AI is scary of how realistic it's getting. But that's not what I want. I don't want to see, I want to see real people
me too.
because there's just a way. I mean, even when you see it, the like emotion is not evoked in AI the way that somebody is able to evoke
Even writing,
emotion.
there's no, like you said, exactly. They didn't go through what I went through. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So they
Yeah.
don't have that emotion, like you said, invoked in there. But and then here's the other thing I tell actors. So now we have AI, trying to take our jobs. Jobs are being, going overseas because it's cheaper for these tech companies that are buying up the streaming services and they're not artists. Then you have the influencers who are taking our jobs because they rather have a Charlie D'Amelio is her name, who has 1 million followers, than to have someone who went to acting school, who's her age, and they're going to give her a part. They'd rather have her because she's going to have more eyes. She's going to bring in more eyes. She's going to bring in more money. So this girl that went to Juilliard is a unknown. And this is what these tech people are doing. And this is what I'm saying, that there's more competition for us, and right now, yeah, I would love to be on Good Morning America and pitch my stuff and everything. But I just feel like this can blow up and we could get a million views. It's more plausible for it to happen because of the
Mhm.
way the internet works. And it's gonna stay on forever. So I could direct people in a year and go, hey, did you see that was my first podcast for the show, that Wine and Cheese Man? Oh yeah, let me check it out. And I'll start sharing it. It would be, you see what I'm saying? Where
Yeah.
I'm on Good Morning America, and I would love to be on there, but it's like one shot deal and that's it. And if you missed it and you don't have, on demand or whatever, yeah, I'll see it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over. You know what I mean? So we have to
Yes.
utilize everything. We have to be open to everything, and I'm here for it, and yeah, so I'm just like really excited about my project, and it doesn't feel like work to me. Like that's how I know, because I taught, I was a teacher and I love teaching. I love the kids. And I did my little stints in entrepreneur or whatever, but I always went back to my acting, and I always went back to my writing, and I always went back to my storytelling, and I just feel like not everyone is gonna like your stuff, right? you know right, because you have.
Yeah, no, I don't, and I think you have to be okay with that because I don't want to be everything to everybody. I want to be something to the community that we build here. I don't need to be everything to everybody.
Yeah, and I want to say this to people, I want to, if one message that they can take away is, I hear people going, "Oh, but now who's gonna like that? Who's gonna watch that? Who's gonna do this?" Stop focusing on who's not gonna like it and focus on the people that do like it, because there is an audience.
Yeah.
And even if it's a small audience, that's your audience and they're there, you know,
Yeah.
because
I Let me tell me it like 'cause I feel like you're similar mindset as me because I always feel like if what I'm doing has impacted one person, that's that means more to me than getting 10,000 downloads on an episode and it not impacting a single person. I would
yes.
rather have 500 downloads of an episode and it impact one person
Mhm.
than 10,000 and it not impact anybody. And that's what I have, my vision has always been. Like,
Mhm.
I know I can't be everything to everybody. And in fact, somebody had asked me that, well, aren't you cutting off a lot of people? I'm like, those are not my audience. It's okay. I don't need, like, if they don't support what I'm doing, or they only want to get to my audience by way of me without really working, that's not who I need. That's
Exactly.
not what I want. And I
Exactly.
think you have to sit in that because that can make you take hits financially. That can, some
Of
opportunities will close for you because you've decided that you are in um that what your vision is more important, or who you're trying to reach is more
integrity and
important.
not
Your
compromise.
integrity. That's
Yes.
exactly what I was trying. I could not remember the
Just
word
like
for my
the
life.
scenario I gave you about being a maid, like I cut myself off. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I could have gotten those jobs, but it was about my integrity, and not compromising myself. You don't want to compromise yourself because
Yeah.
someone's going to throw some money at you so you could be, so they could be your sponsor or something, right?
I've done I have
I'm sure.
I have
Around
what
five
you
years,
call
I'm
McDonald.
sure.
I've turned down McDonald's multiple times. I don't really eat McDonald's, and
Now
our
more than ever.
community suffers so much
Ever.
from diabetes and high blood pressure and everything that I just
They
didn't.
also support the current administration, by the way. So
Well, this was even
sure
prior
you
to that, but even with
I'm sure
that,
you're
yeah,
gonna know.
no.
Now that's why I said now more than ever. No, yeah. So let's see. What else can I tell you about the project?
When does it come out? When does it come out?
Okay,
How does it come out?
okay, so here's what I'm doing. So the pilot is done. I'm releasing the trailer in a couple of weeks. And then I'm having a friends and family viewing and invite only. It's private on September 5th. And then I have a second day, September 12th, because I might get sold out. I have to do it that way because I submitted for a bunch of film festivals and they don't allow you to show it to the public. So they'll disqualify you if you show it to the public, but you can have private viewings. Okay. So that's what I'm doing first. And then
Can
based,
I get a can I get a virtual private viewing?
absolutely, I'm gonna do those. You're invited.
Oh yeah, yes. I want to,
Oh,
yes, please. I want to
yes.
be part of
And
that.
you're invited as my guest. You don't have to,
Oh,
because it is a fundraiser, but you're
yeah.
invited as my guest.
Oh, thank you.
Course, yes, we're doing virtual. Yes, absolutely. Yes, so you can see it. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. And then based on, that, let's see how many film festivals we get into, and then let's see how many grants we can, and then after that, then I'll have it, like I'll put it on in a theater somewhere and show it, to the public,
Yeah.
for yeah. But I mean, but I am also, the reason I have the other script is because I am allowed to write the other script, cast, it's like a spin-off. So I have a spin-off. So I'm bringing some of the same characters in with the story evolving, and I could throw that to the public, but I can't throw the other one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So a network won't pick it up if I do that. But my thought process was to to cast that, right? Um, that's why I'm doing the casting, and I love doing casting, by the way. I've been doing, I love it. I did it 10 years, and I've been doing it like in sprinkles, because I also did a short film or two. But so I was gonna cast that and then throw it out so the public could see it and then get eyes on it. So then I could tell the streamers, hey, look, there is an audience, for this kind of family, a Latino family, you know. So it's
I'm
very,
so excited. No. Okay. So I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see this. I can't wait to
because Issa Rae,
share everything. I
Issa Rae
will.
started that way. She had a show on YouTube, a web series.
Yes.
Then she got picked up. Also, Rami Youssef,
Hmm.
he also started that way.
What was his show called? Because it was on was it on FX?
No, on Hulu.
On Hulu.
It's called Rami.
Okay, yeah, yeah. First, but I remember, and there
I was
was.
on his show. I was on his
Were
show.
you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, he's a wonderful person, by the way. And he had his hands on every single thing. I played a madam of a bordello. Okay, it was great. And he met me, and the wardrobe people, I had to go in the day before for the wardrobe, and they were like, "Oh, he said he remembered you from the cat." He has his hands on everything, the casting, the writing, the everything. But it's his own production company, and
Yeah,
it's a big deal. There was like 100 people on set. You know what I mean? For like one scene that I was in, and he was such a great down to earth person to work with, but he also started with his own web series, and then they picked up his show. Do you know what I mean? So my point to that, actors and filmmakers and writers have to stop turning their nose up at the internet, because it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine. You got
yeah,
to show the streaming and the people with the money, hey, there's an audience for this. You
yeah,
and that's why I want to get the Latino eyes on it, and I want to get all eyes on it. And yes, there's going to be more diversity in there, because I am going to cast, it's going to be a diverse cast at the end of the day, because that's the intention. And those, and I do have those characters because I had them in the first episode. I just put them on a shelf right now, and then I'll
yeah,
bring them back. But there's a gold mine there. But because of the way that the internet is now, and it's all about money, they're not throwing money at people and going, let me see the script. Oh my God, the script is gold. Here's $200,000. Let's do. They're not doing that anymore. You know, now you have to show them that there's an audience,
yeah. I
for the.
remember back in the day, right, with various TV shows, they would give it like right now. I'm in the midst of rewatching Beverly Hills 90210,
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes.
And I remember they said that first season was not great, but then they decided to do like a summer season,
Okay.
and Fox gave them that opportunity, and that's what like blew them up. I remember the show Roswell on
Yes.
the WB, where all of the fans sent in Tabasco sauce so it could. So it's like a lot of these shows, like the networks, they really would believe, like they really believed in them, they would give them that opportunity, and then they oftentimes they would get, multiple seasons and whatever, and that just doesn't happen anymore.
No,
Like
no.
it's not about we believe in this show, it's like this show is not making us money. Bye.
Yeah, yeah, and you get a show like on the, the networks like on NBC, CBS, ABC, and they'll do one season because they're not doing well. They're not getting any eyes
Yeah.
on, because
Yeah.
right now attention is like, how are we going to grab people's attention? And people are not watching TV the way, older people like us are, because I still watch TV,
Yeah.
but not as much, I'm streaming and I'm on the internet doing research, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Say, you know what? I'm gonna totally admit something. And if anybody does this, please let me know. So we don't have cable, right? We have a lot of streaming services, but I there's just something about live TV that especially in the mornings, like I like to watch the morning news, just the local news, and then I'll watch the Today Show, and then that's kind of what I watch right now for
okay.
news
Yeah, yeah.
because,
'Cause-
but so on, I found on um like Pluto and stuff that because it's free and they'll have legit like the Today Show channel, but
Yes.
it says Encore, but it's literally at my time. So
Oh, mm,
it's like I would see it on a regular TV channel. So that became comforting to me. I was like, oh, I
right.
could still get this and I can get it free and I can still watch it on my TV and everything. And then
Yeah,
after that, I stream music while I'm working, or I'll, same thing. I'm doing research or trying to create, like trying to figure out the next step of what I'm planning on doing or creating content or anything like that. But at least during the day or in that morning, I still get that feeling, right? That live feeling.
right.
Because I feel like when you cut yourself off, I don't want to just see it online because everybody has their point of view.
Right.
And then when
Yeah.
my husband gets home, we usually stream like a show together or whatever and go to sleep because we're
Yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah. But it's true. We're bombarded with information, and everybody has a point of view, and then
Yeah.
everything's pulling you in different directions. And that's true. I don't have cable either. So just I have an antenna. So then I get those shows, and then I have streaming services,
Yes.
streaming. I don't watch much, but I watch, sometimes I watch, the regular channels just as you do. But then it's the streaming services, the same thing,
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
All right,
I
so
can't believe it. It's just, I okay, so if people want to follow you, they can follow you on Instagram at I_M Rose Gutierrez
uh-huh.
and or RG3 films with the Z.
Yes.
And I will make sure to put those in the show notes. So make sure to follow Rose. We'll make sure as soon as things progress and as soon as she's announced stuff, we'll make sure to share that with you guys
Thank you.
on social, but on our newsletter as well. So if you haven't subscribed
Oh,
to Spill the Chisme newsletter, make sure to do that. Rose, is there anything else that you want to share?
I just want to share that I had such an amazing time.
This is
You
your first podcast as a guest.
My first podcast, and I'm so happy that it was with you because you made me feel so comfortable. It's like an old friend that we're just here, just talking and shooting the breeze. And this was like so easy breezy. And we went off on a tangent how many times? And I'm like thinking, I'm like, she has to pull me back into talking about the podcast.
I did. I got you back, but we do
You
that.
did.
We've done that multiple times. I think anybody who listens knows like sometimes we'll go on a tangent, but I always bring it back to where it needs to be.
But that's how you know that you're good because, imagine people just came on and this like rigidly, I just would have talked about the project and nothing else. You had me crying for a minute. You know what I mean? We laughed, we went off on a tangent in different directions. You kept pulling me back. So that's how you know that you're good. And not only that, but that you're genuine, and and I'm so glad that we connected, and I know this won't be the last time. So I'm going to say
No,
it again. I'll look you up. And if you come to New York, you better look me up,
yes, you know what? Hopefully, I don't know if I'll get a chance this year. I've been every year for like the last 3-4 years. And I love going to New York. I love go
Good to know.
and so I get to see a lot of friends when I'm there. So I always love it.
Okay, good, good.
And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I get to add another friend to the
And
list.
you have another friend. And I wanted to say one thing also. When you asked me about growing up, my grandmother first went to Williamsburg, and that's where I was born, Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Then we went to Prospect Park, Brooklyn, and then we landed in Bushwick. So,
Got it. I've been, my cousin used to live right across the street from Prospect Park. So yeah, I know that area.
yes, yes, yes. So Brooklyn girl. And then when I got married, I went to Long Island and I raised the kids there. And then I went back to Brooklyn. So yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, Rose, thank you so much for sharing this whole story. I am so excited. I cannot wait to see this pilot and to be able to like celebrate you even more and celebrate the project and this cast and everything that you're doing. I like, and if there's anything that I can do to help you outside of the podcast, I mean, whether in the podcast, outside the podcast,
Thank you so
please
much.
don't hesitate to ask.
Appreciate it. Yeah. The trailer will be dropping in about 2 weeks, but by that time this will be out already. So that's great. Yeah. All right. Thank you so
So
much.
thank you. And until next time, mi gente.
Bye.
Hola, mi gente. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wine and Chisme Podcast. If you would like to hear more wine and more chisme, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Saludos.